My name is Michael. My life was never easy. When I was young, my family was poor. We lived in a small house in a small town. My parents worked hard, but we never had enough money. Sometimes we did not have good food to eat. I started working when I was very young. I wanted to help my family, and I wanted a better life. I tried many jobs. I worked in a gas station. I cleaned cars, I washed dishes, and I worked in small cafes. I did everything I could, but no job made me happy. I always felt something was missing. I wanted to do something that I loved. I wanted to make something that people could enjoy. There was one thing I really loved: cooking. When I cooked, I felt calm. I forgot my problems. The smell of food made me feel alive. I liked to try new recipes. I mixed different spices, I tested new sauces, and I watched people's faces when they tasted my food. When they smiled, I felt proud. That feeling gave me hope. For many years, I dreamed about having my own restaurant. I wanted a small place where people could come, eat, and feel happy. I knew it would be hard, but I wanted to try. So, after many years of work, I saved a little money. I found a small building beside a quiet road. It was old and broken, but I could see something special in it. It was my chance. I worked day and night to clean and fix the place. I painted the walls myself. I bought old chairs and tables. I used my small savings to buy cooking oil, flour, rice, and chicken. I did everything alone. There were many problems, but I did not stop. I wanted this dream to live. Finally, one morning, I opened my small restaurant. The sign outside said, "Michael's Kitchen." It was not big, but it was beautiful to me. I started selling chicken soup, sandwiches, and fried chicken. The first day, only 3 people came, but they liked the food. The next day, more people came. Little by little, my small place started to get busy. I woke up early every morning. I cooked, cleaned, and served customers all by myself. Sometimes I was very tired, but when I saw happy faces, I smiled again. I felt that my life was finally changing. For the first time, I believed that my hard work was bringing me somewhere. People said, "Michael, your food is the best in town." Those words made me strong. My restaurant was small, but my dream was big. Every day I thought, maybe one day, my food will be known by many people. I didn't know what the future would bring, but at that time, I was full of hope. I was not rich, but I was proud. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was building something real, something that came from my heart. For some time, my life was finally good. People came to my restaurant every day. They liked my food. Some people even came from other towns just to eat my chicken. I was happy and proud. I thought, now my life is changing. I will never be poor again. Every morning, I woke up before the sun. I cleaned the kitchen and started cooking. The smell of fried chicken filled the air. When customers came, I smiled and said, "Welcome to Michael's Kitchen." They laughed, they talked, they ate. My small place was full of life. Day by day, I started to dream bigger. I thought, maybe I can open another restaurant in a bigger city. I started saving money again. It was not easy, but I worked hard. For the first time in my life, I felt safe and strong. People called me Mr. Michael, the cook with the golden chicken. Those words made me feel proud. But life does not always go as we want. One day, a man came into my restaurant and said, "Michael, did you hear? The new highway is opening next month." I asked, "What highway?" He said, "The big road. Cars will not come this way anymore. Everyone will use the new road." At first, I did not believe him. I thought, maybe it will not change much. But I was wrong. When the new road opened, cars stopped passing my place. My restaurant was beside the old road, and now no one came. The parking area was empty. The chairs were empty. The kitchen was quiet. At first, I waited. I hoped things would get better. But every day, fewer people came. I lost more and more money. I could not pay for food or bills. I started to sell my old things just to stay open. But nothing helped. My dream was falling apart in front of my eyes. One evening, I sat alone in the empty restaurant. The lights were off. Only one small lamp was on. I looked around and remembered the happy days. The smell of food, the laughter of people, the sound of cooking. Now there was only silence. I felt a deep pain in my heart. I knew what I had to do. I sold the restaurant. When I gave the keys to the new owner, I felt like I was giving away a part of my soul. I walked out with only a few dollars in my pocket. I was 60 years old, tired, and broke. Many people said, "Michael, it's over. You are too old to start again." I smiled, but inside I was broken. That night, I looked at my reflection in the window and said to myself, maybe they are right. Maybe it's too late. But deep inside, a small voice whispered, "No, Michael, not yet. You still have something left." After I sold my restaurant, I felt lost. I was 60 years old and had no money. I had worked all my life, but now I had nothing. For many weeks, I stayed at home. I did not talk to people. I felt like a failure. One night, I sat alone at my small table. I had one cup of tea and a few old pictures from the restaurant. I looked at them and cried a little. I thought about all the people who used to eat my food. They always smiled and said, "Michael, your chicken is the best." Then I asked myself, what if that chicken can still change my life? That night, a new idea came to my mind. I thought, I cannot build another restaurant, but maybe I can share my recipe. I had a special way to cook chicken, crispy outside, soft inside, full of flavor. It took me many years to make it perfect. Maybe I could sell this idea to other restaurant owners. The next morning, I woke up early. I took a notebook, wrote my recipe, and made some samples of my fried chicken. Then I got in my old car and drove to another town. I stopped in front of a small restaurant. My heart was beating fast. I went inside and said to the owner, "Sir, would you like to try my chicken?" The man looked at me and said, "Who are you?" I said, "My name is Michael. I used to have a restaurant, but it closed. I have a special recipe for fried chicken. I think your customers will love it." He smiled politely but said, "No, thank you. We already have our own recipe." I thanked him and left. That was my first no, but it was not the last. In the next weeks, I went to many restaurants, big and small. Some people didn't even listen to me. Some laughed. Some told me to go home and rest. I heard no more than 100 times. But I did not stop. Every time someone said no, I said to myself, one more try? Just one more. I believed that someday someone would say yes. And one day, a small restaurant owner said, "Okay, Michael, let me try your chicken." I cooked it right there in his kitchen. When he tasted it, he smiled and said, "This is amazing. My customers will love it." That was the first yes. And that one yes changed everything. He started using my recipe. Soon, other restaurants called me. They wanted to use it too. I didn't build a restaurant again. I built a recipe that traveled to many towns. It was not fast, and it was not easy. But for the first time after my failure, I felt hope again. I learned something important. When life closes one door, you must find another. You can always start again, even at 60. After the first restaurant used my recipe, things started to change. People loved the chicken. More restaurant owners called me and asked, "Michael, can we use your recipe too?" I said yes, but I wanted to make it fair. Each restaurant that used my recipe gave me a small part of their profit. It was not much, but it was honest. I started traveling from one city to another. I had an old car, a small suitcase, and a few bottles of my secret spices. Everywhere I went, I cooked chicken for people to taste. Sometimes I slept in the car because I had no money for a hotel. Sometimes I ate only bread and water. But I didn't care. I was working for my dream. Slowly, more and more people started to know my name. Some people called me the Chicken Man. At first, it was funny to me, but I liked it. It meant people remembered me. When I visited restaurants again, I saw happy customers eating my chicken. They didn't know me, but they were enjoying something I created. That made me very proud. Still, life was not easy. Traveling all the time was hard. My car broke down many times. Sometimes I had to fix it by myself. Some restaurant owners didn't pay me on time. Others used my recipe without my permission. It made me angry, but I tried to stay calm. I told myself, Michael, you can't stop now. You came too far. I worked for years like that, city to city, restaurant to restaurant. My ideas started to grow. Soon, I had more than 100 restaurants using my recipe. People everywhere were talking about Michael's special chicken. Newspapers wrote stories about me. For the first time, I was becoming famous. But fame also brought problems. Some people tried to copy my recipe. Some wanted to use my name for their business. I had to protect my idea. So I talked to a lawyer and made my recipe a real business. It was not easy. There were many papers to sign, and I did not understand all the words. But I learned. I studied every night. I wanted to make my dreams strong, not just in my heart, but in the real world. Many times I wanted to give up. I was old, tired, and still not rich. But when I thought about my past, the days I cried in my empty restaurant, I knew I could not stop now. I told myself, you already lost once. You will not lose again. So I kept going. Step by step, my idea became bigger than me. It was no longer just one man and a recipe. It became a brand, a story, a symbol of never giving up. After many years of hard work, my dream became real. My recipe was now in hundreds of restaurants across the country. People everywhere knew my name. They said, Michael's chicken is the best. Some people even wanted to take pictures with me. It felt strange, but also beautiful. I was no longer poor. For the first time in my life, I had enough money to live well. But more important than money, I had peace in my heart. I looked back at my long road, the failures, the pain, the lonely nights, and I smiled, because every mistake, every no, and every tear had brought me here. One day, a young man came to me and said, Michael, you are lucky. You became famous. I laughed and said, no, my friend. It was not luck. It was work. It was believing when everyone said stop. It was starting again when I had nothing left. People often asked me, what is your secret? And I always said, my secret is not just the recipe. My secret is never giving up. Life tested me many times. It took my money, my restaurant, my sleep, and almost my hope. But it could not take my dream, because I never let it go. Even at 60, I was learning. I learned that age does not matter. It is never too late to start again. You can always find a new way if you keep your heart strong. I learned that real success is not how much money you make, but how many times you stand up after you fall. Now, when I walk into one of the restaurants that use my recipe, I sit at a table and watch people eat. They laugh, they talk, they enjoy the food. They don't know me, but I know them, because I made that moment for them. That is my true reward. Sometimes people call me the man who never gave up. I like that name, because it tells my story in just a few words. I failed many times, but I always stood again. If I can do it, you can too. So if you are reading or listening to my story, remember this. Life will not be easy. People will doubt you. You will lose things. You will cry. But if you keep going, if you believe in your dream, one day you will smile and say, "It was all worth it." My name is Michael. I am not just a cook. I am a man who started again when everyone thought it was over. And that is why my story lives. To remind you that success begins when you refuse to stop. So this was my story. If you feel tired or lost, remember, never give up, just like I didn't. Your dream is waiting for you. You can make it real. Thank you for watching my story. If you liked it, please give a like. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. See you in the next video.